This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Sophia Yvette.
Welcome to the Good Neighbor Podcast. Are you in need of a realtor? Well, one may be closer than you think. Today I have the pleasure of introducing your good neighbor, Phil Martin, with eXp Realty. Phil, how's it going today?
It is going great, Sophia. I really appreciate you inviting us here on the show, and looking forward to chatting with you.
Yes, and I am looking forward to chatting with you too. But what our audience is really excited about today is learning all about you and your business. Can you get started with telling us a little bit about your company and its unique model to real estate?
Absolutely. Martin Home Team is the name of my team, and we're brokered by eXp Realty. I had our own brokerage for a number of years. About 2.5 years ago, we shifted over to eXp because of just the organization that it is, almost 85,000, 90,000 agents and the support. It is just a juggernaut and what it represents to buyers and sellers in terms of the huge support network that comes with it. And then just backing up our 12, 13-year track record here in the Collin County area north of Dallas, Texas. It was a great match. So our team is a boutique team. There's not a lot of agents here, just a couple, along with a number of assistants. So we can give highly personalized red carpet service to our clients.
Amazing. And how did you originally get into this business?
Oh my gosh. Well, Sophia, I went in the military right out of college as an infantry officer, went into the corporate world and moved through the ranks quite quickly. And eventually landed in an anti-counterfeit industry, running around globally, doing different things. And in 2006, I had to stop traveling and focus on my daughter. And that led me to lending, which was pretty straightforward to me at the time, which then introduced me to real estate about 2006, 2007. And I thought, wow, what an interesting industry. I never wanted to be a realtor until about 2010. I was at Prime Lending at the time, doing lending, and some people from out of state approached me and said, we understand your business background, developing companies, growing companies. We want to grow a real estate brokerage. I said, I don't want to be a realtor, but if you put me in the back office, I will absolutely help you do that. And that led me to have some exposure to some very top agents. And it just blew my mind. I was thinking, wait a minute. You don't have to have an office. You don't have to have W-2 employees. And these contracts are, with my experience of doing some pretty sophisticated contracting and business development at large corporations, I looked at this as an opportunity to not just be somewhere pulling strings, but have on the ground, face-to-face interaction with people and really add value and just see it in what they said and what they experienced. It just kind of got me excited and I got hooked on it. My mission statement from day one, being from the corporate world, I put all that together, serving families with a grateful heart to help preserve and protect their real estate assets and way of life. I don't publish that. I don't say that very often, but for me personally, that's what keeps me going in the hard times and the good times, because real estate assets are the underlying asset which facilitates your way of life, literally. And that's the way I look at this. And, when I every once in a while I'll say some things which puts this in perspective. First time home buyers, I'll say, you're asking somebody for $350,000. Yes, they're going to ask some questions. It's like you're buying and selling. You realize you're involved in over $2 million in real estate transactions. If we step back and just think of that for a second, that's why my model insists on we plan thoroughly and we really ask a lot of questions. We really push the perspectives. A lot of people have bought one or two houses, and so they have some experience. Some have no experience, but either which way, I'm the expert. I consider myself an expert on a number of levels. And so I like to ask questions and broaden horizons, build perspectives. And, the goal is when people are done, they have an asset which will facilitate the way of life, their quality of life, their lifestyle that they're looking for. And so I look at it like that. I don't work, bedrooms and bathrooms are everywhere. That's one of the last things I talk to people about. I'm more interested in, your lifestyle. how do you envision life being when you get new bedrooms and bathrooms? Because you have bedrooms and bathrooms, why do you want new ones? And in Collin County, whether you're in Frisco or the surrounding cities, they're all beautiful, all of them. But what's different is where they are located and what that affords you, right? Do you have to drive somewhere? Is it close to where you want to do the things with your kids, your faith-based activities? So once we understand that, and it has to be a good investment. So my background, I have an MBA from Duke University that happened in the corporate world. I do a lot of investing. I've flipped homes. I work with a lot of investors now. I started a home building company. We built almost 100 homes from 2017, 18 out to 2022. So I understand the mechanics of this industry very well. And, but my favorite thing is to just bring it down to a personal conversation and not having to tell everybody all those things, but it comes out in the conversation and the questions that I'm asking people. And if I can give you an aha moment, like, wow, I hadn't thought of that, that's when I know that we're making progress. So hopefully that's not too long of an answer. I get all stuff when I start talking about it though.
Well, you definitely had answered my question. And at the end of the day, I think everything in life should be an investment towards a better future. So
Absolutely.
I love your heart behind the business. But now we know when it comes to the business, marketing is the heart of every business. It's what keeps you expanding. So who are your target clients or audience? And in terms of marketing, what are you doing to attract them right now?
Yeah, I'm a big into marketing. When I got into this business, I looked at it like a business. It's not just sales. Sales is just one aspect of this particular business. And my motto, when I first got into lending and real estate, I would say to young people, I say, look, are you marketing? Do you have a CRM now, a client relationship management tool? They'd say, no, why do I got to do that? Business is easy. I mean, you could stand in the street and if you could fog a mirror, you were making six figures back in 2007. Here's young people do. So are you marketing? They say, no. I say, you realize if you're not marketing, you're not really in business. Because marketing and it makes you do some introspection. Who am I? Who do I want to attract? I can't be everything to everybody. So as the years have gone by, I really focused on first-time home buyers in the beginning. I love doing first-time home buyers. I don't consciously try to attract first-time home buyers now, though. Um, um, my sweet spot is, I always like to, I do a lot of YouTube. I have a huge YouTube channel. Probably 40% of my business comes from relocation out of state on YouTube. I was one of the first agents who jumped into that particular foray, invested a lot into it. And besides that, I just continually add value through texting and emailing to my database, which is probably about 10,000 people at this point. But my target is, if you have gray hair like me, and you're sitting in a big house and all the kids are gone and you realize that you want to make a change, you want to turn the page in life, right? You don't need all the maintenance. You don't need all the lawn mowing, but you still want to have this life that you've been waiting for. And now is the time. But you're sitting on a super low interest rate and you don't know what to do. What's next? What's possible? That's one of my favorite sayings is what's possible. And you really want to work with somebody who has experience. They're not going to take you for granted. They're not going to talk at you or not knowing what you're saying. If you like analytics, I am your guy. If you just want the bottom line, I am your guy. But I understand you're dealing with, this is where this, probably $2 million plus in transactions for people relocating or downsizing. It's so critical because you're literally turning a page in your life. And so if you're, my sweet spot are those people who are looking to downsize or relocate, not just into a different neighborhood. We're talking different job, different state. Crazy. The change and the anxiety is off the chart. And so, looking at that demographic is where I'm really focused with the secondary on. If you're an up and coming executive or mid-tier manager, and you need to make a move with your family, and it can't be a mistake, but you're so busy, right? So it has to be well thought out. It has to be underpinned by analytics. It has to have rationale. It has to have a process. So you know that I am representing your best interests at all times, and I can communicate and prove it. And if I say this particular thing is an opportunity, I can give you rational reasons why. And one of my favorite things to do too is, push the boundaries of what's possible, but also reel people back in. Because looking at houses is kind of a sexy thing, especially new construction. Your eyes get this big and you're like, wow. But that's the fastest way to make a mistake, is to focus on the house, as it turns out. Right? Especially here in Collin County, when, every neighborhood has a different tax rate, MUD, PID, et cetera, an HOA, which varies your total cost of ownership quite a bit. So,
Well,
most agents will say, what's your price point? I never ask people what their price point is, because to me, it's almost, not quite, but almost irrelevant. I like to ask, what is the comfort zone for the monthly mortgage payment all in? Because that can end up being, because of the difference in homeowner insurance, in HOA, mortgage insurance, in taxes. It can be a house has a price of this, or it could be a house of price of that. And if you're not careful and you're focused on just the price, you may end up with a mortgage payment you can't afford. But you could buy it.
wow.
Or,
Well,
you may be leaving money on the table. So I explain things. I have some very unique tools that I've developed over the years. I call it math to market. And my usual starting salvo with people is, let's have a conversation. If that looks like it was helpful, if you think there could be, more value in a longer conversation, we have a Zoom call. We're scheduling for 45 minutes based on your questions. I usually, on average, spend about an hour and 15 minutes with people on the first Zoom, because they do have a lot of questions, but everything is visual. We go through the math first very quickly, making sure you understand the two numbers that are important. How much money do you have to buy the house? Cash in your pocket, and monthly mortgage payment you don't want to exceed. And from there, we're going to identify the areas which will dovetail with your financial safe zone, if you will. And from there, we can audit a couple of houses and say, you might say, oh, heck no, I ain't living there, if that's all I can afford. Or you may say, wow, most of the time people see opportunity, but it's going to be in 3 or 4 or 5 areas. So now we know what we need to research, the
we
areas.
have a
And so I help
limited
them do
amount of
that.
time. We have
Okay.
a limited amount of time for our podcast today. But have you ever thought of having your own podcast before?
Yeah, I did it for a little while. About 2 years ago, I was interviewing local business owners, specifically over in the McKinney, Allen, Plano area. And just as an effort to, network and combine databases and generate word of mouth for local businesses.
Amazing. And final question for you today, Phil, because we are about to be out of time. Where can our listeners go to learn more about eXp Realty?
Well, eXpRealty.com would be one thing, or you can come to searchtexashomes.com. That is the name of my website. So if you want to learn about eXpRealty.com, searchtexashomes.com is where you can learn about me and what we do here. If you want to learn about the area and you're relocating, or you're just curious about what's there in Frisco, what's the lifestyle like, or other surrounding cities, you can go Live North of Dallas, Texas, which is a YouTube channel. And there's a ton of videos there you can choose from.
Well, Phil, I really appreciate you being on the show today. We wish you and your business the best moving forward.
I appreciate it. You too, Sophia.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpfrisco.com. That's gnpfrisco.com. Or call 469-221-9345.